Alright, so we got a 2008 Trailblazer SS. Did a starter video on this truck a while back, and airbags have blown out in the back. I did some troubleshooting on it already and found out that the airbag is dry rotted on this side at least, and probably the other side as well. And it burnt the pump out, and it also blew the fuse. And most people seem to just replace these with springs, but I'm going to do it the correct way. I have both the air springs. These are all dormant parts because most of the GM stuff is not available anymore. So I have dormant bags, a dormant replacement air pump. We're going to do shocks for good measure, and then these are the sensors for each wheel to tell the airbags when to pump up, and then a box of fuses. So we're going to get to doing that. All right, for reference, you can see how bad it is. It's just sitting on bump stops right now. It has been like that for about a week, so we're going to fix that. Both sides are like that. You can see the clearance from the front to the back. There's that switch in the trunk, but all that is for the air compressor.
Oh, was it? Okay.
And then the fuse is blown anyway, so
true.
we won't put the fuse back in until it's on the
And
ground.
it's not like we're letting any air out of this system because there is no air in it.
Nah, there's nothing. This thing makes all kinds of creaky noise.
Yeah.
Let's do the shake test.
You're used to it, and I'm kind of getting used to it.
Better just like that. Get some clearance now.
You know what?
Fits in here this time.
I didn't notice that sticker. I wonder if they put that sticker on there because it needs to be on a V8 Trailblazer.
For what?
Where it says V8 underneath, right where your arm. Upside down V8.
That's funny. It's like a chassis tag from the factory or something?
Yeah, like maybe it's reinforced with a V8 or something.
Might be.
I don't know. Like grab this when you're putting this together, because
Maybe, yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's good. I'm so glad I got that energy drink. I'm pulling out the air compressor. The air compressor is located behind the passenger wheel, up behind the bumper cover, and there's two 13mm bolts, one here and one here, and then it lifts off, and then you get both plugs off. I'll show you that. Okay, so I got the old airbags out. Get the light up in there so you can actually see it. This is a pretty crusty specimen, but that's what Massachusetts will do. Both sides are out. You can see the tubing up there. The tubing is really difficult to get out on an airbag like these that are already really rusty. These are both the airbags, and you're supposed to be able to push down on this little collar on the edge right here, and there's so much rust and corrosion that these will never come out, so I just cut them, and all that does is just shorten it about a ½ inch, and it's not going to be a big deal for the new airbags. So old ones are out. The most important thing that I didn't learn that nobody else showed me, well, that I learned after doing this, was that this little plastic tab right here. See if you can see that. If you push down on that little tab right there, you push down on that tab and then you rotate the bag counterclockwise, and you'll feel it stop, and then the bag falls right out. In this case, they're pretty rusty, so I just hit them with some WD-40 and then knocked them around a little bit, and I actually ended up using the air chisel to hit the edge a little bit, and then it knocked them right out. And then the other ones will just, the tubing will push right down and lock into place, and then they'll just pop up into the 3 locks right here, and then it'll lock on this clip, and then that's it. Just make sure that they're sitting on the spring perch on the rear end itself right there, and I'll show that in a second. Alright, back on an update. I got the old compressor out. This is why we're replacing it. You can see all the rust on here because they put them right behind the wheel well, and they rot out. There's 3 lines on here. This is your Schrader valve feed line that you'll see inside your cab. If you open up the rear hatch, you'll see a Schrader valve inside the right glove storage compartment, and that's where this line right here goes, and that's what fills the bags up in the event that the compressor fails. This is a vent line right here, You just push the little collar forward and then it pops right off. That's really easy. These lines I just cut, the 3 main lines. That one I just cut right there. And there's 2 more right here, and it says left and right side, and those fittings just thread right out with a 10mm wrench. And then ended up swapping those out. You gotta be really careful with these because they're plastic threads, and I had a hard time trying to get one of the other ones in. So be really careful of those. There's 2 power plugs over here. One right here, you just push the clip down, that slides off. There's another one right here, you push down, that slides off. So there's 2 main power plugs, a vent line, your feed line for your Schrader valve, and then 1 line for each airbag or air shock in the back there. And what holds this in place is it just sits up in there. You'll see it up here. You can see the new compressor up in there. There's 2 13mm bolts in the bottom right there, and then you can get it down just enough to pull those power plugs off that I showed you in the 3 main lines. These tabs right here lock into the top of the frame right there, and they hook onto the top, and then that holds the thing in place so it doesn't fall off until you take those 2 13mm out, and then you can just unlock it off the frame and swivel it down. So that's changed out. We put those on. The airbags, airbags just go up into place and then rotate clockwise, like that little clip like I explained. Both sides are in. I'm going to make sure that these line up on the rear end as I lower it down so that it sits on these spring perches right there. I want this bag to line up on there correctly. So now I'm just changing out the shocks. I just did this side. I'm working on the other side right now. Those come out really easy. A bolt in the bottom and a single bolt on the top. And then the sensors, changed them out. I had this side, one of the bolts snapped, so I had to find another bolt right there. But these sensors come with a key that sits in there to lock them in place. So what I did was I fit it in there, plugged it on, and then you can pull the pin and then rotate this arm down, and then there's just a little rubber grommet right here that just pops right onto the control arm. That makes that really easy. So those are done. I'd imagine that it's crucial that you get these correct, because if these are clocked wrong, that it's going to change the height of each wheel. So what I did, they're on the center point on both of the other ones, so I just did the same on this one. Hopefully that will work just fine. If not, then I can just loosen these 2 10mm and just adjust this a little bit, and it'll adjust either side. So I'm just gonna pull this shock out. We're gonna replace that with I guess some new OEM shocks. We got a couple of sway bar links in the front to change, and then we can lower it down, line up the air springs, and replace the fuse, and hopefully airbags work correctly. All right, I'm back on the ground, sitting on the ground there. The key's off. Fuse is still blowing from when the compressor went bad. So I got a 30 amp fuse right here, which is what it was in there when I found it blown. So I believe that's a factory fuse. I'm going to show you the fuse location under the hood, driver's side. Let me get a light in here so you guys can actually see what's going on. I'm trying to remember which one it was. Well, it's going to be the only blown one, I guess. Yeah. Okay. Here's your fuse block. And you're gonna see these 4 little, that's convenient. These 4 big fuses right here. And then right in the front of this bolt is a 10 amp and then the 20. That 20 is actually incorrect because I was testing this before. This is supposed to be a 30 amp fuse, and that's for your air compressor. I don't think this is going to turn on yet until I turn the key on. Yeah, so that didn't do anything yet. So now when I turn the key on, it should activate the compressor and pump that rear up, hopefully. Let's see. Turn the key to the on position and you should hear the compressor turn on. Compressor turned on. Let's hope this system holds air going. Now these are completely empty, so it's going to take a little bit. if that was
They're just expanding.
the bag expanding. Yeah, because it's still going up. It's a good sign so far. Pump doesn't sound terribly healthy, does it?
No, that sounds fine.
I guess that's how it's supposed to sound, but
The other one sounded more.
I just thought it would be a little smoother, but that's a brand new Dorman pump, so that's the sound of it. I don't think it's gonna blow up, but wow, this thing's really high now. Is it gonna stop? That's why is it so high?
I have no idea.
This looks like it's set up for the
Did it stop on its own or did you stop it?
I didn't stop it, no.
This is too high, isn't it?
You don't want to leave it like that? It's raked. Alright, so I need to figure this out. Why is it so damn high?
There is a way to do it, I just don't know how to do it.
Seems like it's settling, maybe. It seems like it is, maybe. Huh. That's really, really high. A lot higher than it seems like it should be, huh? Like 3 or 4 inches too high.
Yeah.
Let's start it up real quick, maybe see if it does anything. I try to bleed a little bit out from that Schrader valve in the back.
Yeah, I did see some code left that said you can adjust the height on it.
Well, I think that's what those wheel sensors are that I just put in. There's a Schrader valve. Your inflator works now. Yeah, they need to come down like 3 inches. This thing's jacked now. Way too high. All right, let's figure out what we're gonna do and we'll regroup and get back. Seems like I found the problem. I'm gonna find out in a minute, but if you look at these rod lengths, this is the Dorman part for the wheel sensor that goes up in there that tells you know, what ride height to set for the back of it. I don't know what these are for. Maybe they're for a standard Trailblazer, not the SS or something, or an Envoy. But these are the ones that came off, the OEM ones. And if you look, they're not the same length. They're actually quite a bit different. So I'm going to try to put these ones back on and see if that helps. But my suspicion is that that's going to take care of it. Let's try it. All right, here's the finished product. I got both the bags in, and it's funny because we turned the key in the on position and it was completely on the ground on the bump stop. So I heard the compressor kick on, and you saw in the video watching it go up, waiting for it to stop, and it just kept going and going and going. Factory spec from what we found says about 33 inches in the back from the edge of the wheel lip to the ground, and I was getting about 34 and a half or so. It went up so high and then it stopped. And it was mostly those arms for the rear sensors. I replaced those out, put it back down, and it went down a little bit. But what I ended up having to do is put it back up in the air, get in there with those two 10 millimeters for those sensors, and then clocked them all the way so that the rod was facing further up, which I think would, on this side, would position it counterclockwise, and the passenger side would be clockwise. Whatever the furthest point was to pull these up higher to make it think that it was really high. We did that, and it did come down to where I'm happy with it. This side is, the passenger side is about 33 inches, and the driver's side is just a touch under 34. I'm hoping that settles a little bit, but that's what we're trying to accomplish with all this, and I'm hoping this video will help somebody out a little bit since there's not a ton of information on these. Thanks for watching. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, and then you click that little thumbs up down below, and it helps my greasy hands out.